Let's talk tension on the Singer Start 1304 sewing machine. Now, this is the tension dial, and if you have the same weight of thread in your needle and bobbin, you probably are not needing to adjust this at all. Now, I know a lot of you like to adjust tension, or you think you're supposed to on a sewing machine. But let me actually tell you the things you need to check first before you actually think tension is an issue. Number one, did you thread the machine correctly? Now, if you flip it over and you got tons of loops on the back, that is not tension. That is just not having the machine threaded correctly. It needs to be nice and deep in this first groove. It needs to be up in this take-up lever where there's a little notch for the thread to sit. The bobbin needs to be in there correctly. You need to have the right needle on for the fabric. You have to clean this machine. So if it hasn't been cleaned for a while, get in under the throat plate, clean it out, and put a little drop of oil in it. So check out our cleaning and maintenance video for this machine. So there's a lot of variables with a sewing machine. And don't forget, we haven't even talked about fabrics yet. Every fabric can kind of make a stitch look a little bit different. But I am going to adjust it so you can see what tension will change. So if we look really close, I have used two different threads in the machine, a fun variegated thread in the needle and a pink thread in the bobbin. And we should see with a stitch like a zigzag, a little dot kind of showing on the back side with a wide stitch width. Now you probably won't see that much with a straight stitch, but if you did see a dot on the back, or a dot on the front coming up, that's when you can adjust the tension. Maybe too, you have two different weights of thread in the machine, maybe a heavier one on top and a lighter one down below, and now again, things are not as balanced. I mean, if your scale doesn't have the same type of weight on one side, we've got a offset scale. Okay, so let's talk about it. If you notice, the tension is for the top of the machine. That means you're only adjusting the top thread. So if I wanted to pull this so I didn't have any of those little dots showing, I want to pull it more to this side. I need to make it tighter at the top. Now, if you just change it a little bit to the bigger number for tighter, you're not going to see much of a difference. I always recommend to my students that if they're going to change it a whole number just to kind of see, did you make it worse or did you make it better? Now, if you made it worse, you just remembered the wrong direction to turn it, that means you can just go back to where it starts, which is at 4, and go the opposite direction. So you have a 50-50 shot of which way you can go, but just make sure you change it a whole number. Maybe if it really needs some changing, a number and a half. Now, if you were ever told as a child, don't touch the tension of mom's sewing machine, you know what? Look, I turned it all the way up to 9. If my little helper fingers came to visit, I am going to just, guess what? Turn it back to normal. It's a dial. It's not going to actually affect the way the machine works. Just put it back to where it started. So if we were to see some bobbin thread coming up to the top, double check that your thread is actually in the bobbin case tension. Remember that little side piece that we thread down and through. Just make sure it's not out of that, which would mean it's really loose. If it pulled to the top, so that would mean this is too tight, then we're going to go ahead and go to a smaller number, looser number on the top that will let this one kind of relax and it pull back down to the other side. Now, if you find that nothing here is changing anything, check the quality of thread, check the needle. Maybe the needle size is too big or too small for the thread you're using. And for the fabric, do you have the right needle even for the fabric you are sewing on? So I would hope that you try some of these other factors of checking first, the cleaning the needles, the threading of the machine before you actually touch the tension. And actually, I haven't really had to touch it at all throughout all these videos. Even though I was switching a few times between some different threads, they were very similar in thicknesses and weight. Speaking of threads, just make sure you have good quality thread on your machine because that can make such a difference. So if you're using old thread, let's just start over, plan for some fresh thread, some thread that actually costs a little bit more than $1 a spool, and go from there because it does make a difference. The more you pay for thread, the better quality it is. All right, so tension, try. You can change it up if you need it tighter, down if you need it looser. If you don't know which way to go, you've got a 50-50 shot.